7 guitars, 1 riff. And this one, my friend, is quite simple. We're gonna play 7 guitars, 1 riff, Santana edition, and you're gonna tell me
which one is the best.
I'm Jorge Lanzas, and now we break it down, baby. Alright, my friend, so there you go, super simple, 7 guitars, 1 riff. Today, since we're doing the Santana edition, of course, we're gonna use a rig that is like quite similar to what he uses. And you know me, this is gonna be with Amplitube 5. And I did this tone in a video that I'm gonna pin right here, and then I'm probably gonna put it in the end. So without further ado, let's just go check it out real quick. Boom, here we are. We have a Mesa Boogie MKII C+. Before that, I have a noise gate, I have a Mudhoney. These are the settings that I'm using. Check them out. Okay, so first we're gonna do all the guitars with a backing track. Let me get my headphones. Here we go. Okay, first run, first go, let's see what we found. And I want to hear you in the comment section telling me what you found. Go do it right now before I tell you what I think. And don't cheat. I want to see if we really hear some of the same things. And I know that the eagle eye amongst you saw me that I was like taking some notes just because I wanted to feel like maybe what was like the biggest differences that jump in my head like as soon as I heard the guitars, right? Okay, so the first thing that we're going to say is like the PRS is the guitar that I used to make this tone. So of course, I feel like it sounded pretty good with it. Although, after listening with all the other guitars, I was feeling like maybe this PRS has a tiny little bit of like a lack of sustain. And that might be due that I was maybe turning my volume knob a little too low. So in the next examples, we're going to check it out and pay attention to that knob and see what happened there. But overall, I feel like tonally, it just sounded pretty much like I would have expected it to sound. So it's a great guitar to have as a control, right? But going to the other guitars, I want to say like the first thing that I noticed is like the Tele sounded
incredible.
The amount of gain that guitar is capable to take and like the clarity that it has, it's very, very, very impressive. I mean, and you could not really expect any less from like the 75th anniversary Telecaster with like custom shop pickups and
blah, 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 blah.
But I'm not here to bore you talking about my guitars. Let's just talk about their sound. So yeah, that Tele totally impressed me. Like it took gain, a lot of gain and a lot of sustain. I feel like it didn't have any problems. I feel like it was a little bit
better
than the PRS.
Ooh.
But again, like we don't really know if it's like a gain thing. Maybe I had the volume a little bit higher on the Tele. Because since there's not really a way to know how loud you are in the knob with that Tele, because it's just like the neural knob and it's got no numbers or no like signs, no nothing. But whatever, I know that I was doing my due diligence on the input section and all the guitars were similar. in input gain, but of course I might have played something more excited, or maybe some of them I was more tired because I've done it like a few times and I'm like already bored of it. But whatever, I digress. Let's keep moving with my notes. Then I could notice that the American Professional, the green guitar, this one, felt almost like it had a little bit like more lows in the low notes, and then like the highs were a little bit like more sweet. I feel like that was a very sweet guitar. I was expecting it to be a little bit more like aggressive, but then again, nothing is gonna sound aggressive after that Tele, right? And then remember, just take this with a grain of salt because this is just like the first listen. You know how quick it was because you did it with me, so you know that I'm just talking about first impressions, what I heard quickly. Then moving on with the Ultra or the white Strat, I felt like it was like super balanced. I don't know, it just felt pretty nice. One of the things that I was gonna notice is that since the output on that guitar is like way lower than most of them, I did feel that there was a little bit of lack of like sustain. I didn't feel that in the American Pro though, or in the Tele. Definitely there's like a lack of gain there because you can see me like sort of like struggling to get the notes to sustain a little bit properly, and we're gonna see it in the next examples, but you can definitely tell that there was something missing there. Then the Les Paul just sounds great. And then the Charvel, the thing that I noticed the most, and then you saw that there was like a little bit of a bonus because this has two different voicings, like a vintage and a modern. So I wanted to make sure that I included both for our friends that might be interested in that kind of guitar, right? So I want to make notice that in the modern tone, it sounded like really nice. Like it just cut through very, very well. But also I couldn't help that maybe I was just like playing terribly because I'm not the best guitar player and everybody knows this in my channel. So yeah, I could feel like maybe I couldn't mute like the strings properly, or maybe just like the pickups are so hot that every tiny movement I was just hearing like a okay, so after having this little bit of a conversation, I already know that some people roasted me in the comments saying that, oh, how are we gonna know the differences? You got the backing track is so loud, I couldn't hear the guitar, that riff is so long. Let's just check this different edit with all the guitars, like the riff like shortened in half, like no backing track. Let's go. So there you go, much easier to hear the differences in the mid-range because you don't have all the music like sort of like distracting you, and like you're really fresh because you just heard that same riff, right? Okay, so a couple things that I want to mention. I know that a few of you are wondering, how did I do this test, or what did I do to prepare? How did I make sure that the gain was the same, and all these kind of things. So let me explain in Amplitube really quickly. And this might sound redundant for a bunch of you in my channel because I've already done videos about this and you know how I like to work, but let's still do it for this video so that we know exactly what's going on under the hood. As you were able to see in the video, the volume of the guitars was never in 100% on any of the guitars. And that is basically because I'm looking for the same kind of like target in the input gain in Amplitube. It's always like around this midpoint right here. So everything that I was playing was like around right here. So no matter what guitar I was using, I was making sure that I was dialing my volume before I hit anything that is analog and that's going to change my signal so that it got to Amplitube sort of like around the same level. And my friend, I feel like that was really nice and it was a great idea, mostly because a few things were revelated to me and I hope they were to you. So let's go to the next round of comments. And then again, remember, let me know what you think before I even say anything, okay? And while you're there, remember to like, subscribe, and do all those cool little things that we like to do on YouTube so that you and I can stay in touch with each other and enjoy this little bossa nova. I hope your day keeps getting better and better, my friend. Alright, let's go. Okay, so starting with the Charvel, for example. If you hear, let's hear the vintage mode. You just compare it with the modern mode within itself. Of course, you hear a big difference and that makes all the sense in the world. But in the context of all the guitars, as soon as that vintage mode and that guitar came through, I noticed it, boom. Like it was like so apparent to me that it was a vintage mode. And then when the modern kicked in, I was just like, yeah, wow, it does really sound like a vintage and modern. So for me, it was a very nice moment because I got the opportunity to try this guitar amongst all my other guitars while taking sort of like the extra power of the pickups out of the equation and just focusing on the actual tone that the guitar is providing, which I must add is like really nice. In my case, it's just a little bit inconvenient because I have 7 other guitars and just having to change all my gain structure every time I want to use that one. Or maybe I should just like get another preamp and like keep it low, something. But who wants to do that?
Not me.
So that to me was super, super, super apparent. And then the other revelation I had was that Tele. Let's hear that Tele really quick. Like, do you agree with me? It's impressive to me how a Tele can sound so good with so many different kinds of music and so many different kinds of gear. And yeah, sometimes you're gonna have to deal with like a lot of noise and stuff like that. Like for example, this Tele is like very, very, very noisy. But can I get a W in the comments? Because it's totally worth it. I don't know if you agree with me, but this Tele sounds incredible. Every time I bring it out and compare it with all my other guitars, I'm like really pleased. I'm sure Danish Pete would say something like that. And if he was here, he would probably tell you to like and subscribe too. Right? I'm just getting too silly. Okay, so just now that we heard that, let's say I want to show you the lack of gain that I was perceiving in the Ultra. Let's see it really quick. You see how I have to adjust my playing just because I feel like, the note's gonna die, what I'm gonna do? And like in the beginning, I just added that little extra note. Let's hear it right here. I knew that it was not gonna hold, so I added the right? Which in the end, I think like Santana does it in the song somewhere else, but that's not here nor there. The fact is that the guitar was lacking a little bit of sustain, and maybe that could have been fixed if I turned the volume up a little bit, but I didn't. And in my input section in Amplitube, it was hitting exactly where I needed it, so that was it. Maybe it was just something about this take that wasn't just great, or maybe I was just too tired. Whatever excuse I want to come up with, I don't know. I felt like there was not enough gain in this guitar. And then just because I feel like weird not talking about the other guitars, let's talk about them. I want to notice that the made in Mexico Stratocaster, that twin head humbucker in the bridge sounds really good. It's like very squealy. It's like, it sounds very good. I don't know. I feel like it's like very heavy. It sounds like very modern. And then again, great pickup. Then like the most boring I feel like are the PRS and the Les Paul. Not because they're boring, but because that sounded to me like the most Santana-esque, I feel like, in the whole test. And it makes sense because he's used both guitars in his history, so it makes total sense that the sound is like sort of like the same. Anyway, but what I'm saying is like even in this like super high gain tone, you can really hear the differences between all the guitars. So again, take a minute to go in the comment section and let me know which one was your favorite and why. Let me know which one you kind of like disliked and why again. I'm super curious to hear what you guys are hearing at home because I know that we all hear different things. But I don't want to keep talking too much. Remember, if you want to make this tone, go watch this video right here. I'm going to be waiting for you right there, my friend. And thank you for being here once again.